When you want to move an element to a specific location, we use the position property. If we want to cover the screen completely, not allow an area to scroll off the screen, or just make a minor 1 or 2 pixel adjustment, we can do all of that using position. So let's look at position absolute. To move an element to an absolute position, meaning we move it exactly where we say, we need to give the element the position absolute declaration. This will typically keep the element in the same spot it is, but it will create a new layer on top of everything else. So if there was something behind it, this new absolute layer would be on top of it. Like how we see here, our blue box is an absolute element. It has position absolute attached to it, but it didn't change the location of it all. So now we need to apply the top or bottom and left or right properties. The top always uses the measurement from the top of the page downwards, and the left property always uses the measurement from the left to the right. Bottom will go from bottom up, and right will go from right to left. So looking at this example here, our blue box is now on top of our red box, and it's moved over to the left and top slightly. So if we look at the code, our first div, we have background color is red, so red is our first one. Width is 200, height is 100 pixels. Next we have our absolute. This is our blue one. It has a width of 150 pixels, height of 50 pixels. Its position is absolute. We said top 0 pixels and left 0 pixels. That means it's going to disregard all the padding and margin in the space that it's in. In this example, it's just in the body element. So it's going to naturally disregard your padding and margin and move to the utmost top left corner that it can. Now if we wanted to move this to the top right, we would just change this to the right property. Definitely take some time to play with this and change the top left values to move your element around. Even play with the bottom and right properties as well. And I strongly suggest that you get a good feel for this just because this adds a whole new dimension to creating a website. If you can create layers, then you can create a light box, which is a little box that pops up when you click a picture in like Facebook, for example. Now let's look at position relative. Sometimes getting the exact position of an element is tricky, and it can waste a lot of time. So if we just want to budge an element over a little bit, we would use the relative value. In this example, we have two divs, and then we're going to merge the right one into the left one, and it's going to look like 3 rectangles. And here's what the code looks like for the latter. For both divs, we have a 1 pixel solid black border. Both divs have a height and width of 50 pixels. Both are display inline block. But now the second one is position relative. Left is minus 30 pixels. So instead of moving everything this way, we're going to move everything a negative number. Left minus 30 pixels is the same thing as right 30 pixels. I just showed you that left minus 30 pixels so that you know that CSS does accept negative values. Static positions are the default. Every element is naturally static in its position. This means it does not move. Wherever you code the element is where it stays, and the next coded element works around that one. The only time you need to specify position static is if you're correcting a parent element. And lastly, let's look at fixed. If you've used Twitter, then you've probably noticed some custom backgrounds that they use or that other people use, and how they don't like to scroll with the page. What I mean is you can scroll up and down, your content will move, but their background image will not. Now they use a little bit different CSS styling for this, but this is the same concept, where I scroll up and down, and the word fixed doesn't even move. That's because its position is fixed. Now to code this, again we use the position property, and we use the fixed value. We have to apply an actual position to it, so we need to apply top left, right, or bottom properties, and position it accordingly to where we want it. Now in this class I went over the left and top properties more so than I did the right and bottom. But I do want to let you know that the right and bottom are fully supported, and that you can use them in the exact same manner that we use top and left.